live, and it says going live a long time. So that means the internet signal down here pretty much sucks.
Okay.
Wow. We are live.
Hello.
The rounding circle has stopped. Round and round we go. Where do we stop? Nowhere. Thank you for tuning in. This is James Bush with Ask a Counselor, brought to you by the great people at the Stars. To my right or your left, or however you're looking at this, we have Paris Brown. I'm going to let her tell you about the great work that she does at the organization she works at.
So I'm Paris Brown. I am a primary counselor here at YODA, Youth Overcoming Drug Abuse. We're a product of Stars. We do intensive outpatient groups for male and female adolescents, focusing on their substance abuse and their mental health concerns.
Wow. So do you guys have like the groups all intermingled with the guys and the girls all in one, same thing like that?
Definitely not. Can't do that. We keep the guys and the girls separate, just to kind of cut down on distractions, cut down on any kind of issues.
Cool. So we're going to get started. There are a couple ways that you can send your questions in. One way could be your social media platform of choice. You can hashtag Ask the Counselor and ask the question, or you can send the question in the live stream chat to my right. So let's get started. Little time to waste. Paris, what are some of the most common questions that you know or hear about adolescent substance abuse?
The most common questions?
Yes.
I don't know. Typically, the questions that we see are like, what is this common substance that kids are using right now?
Okay.
How old are they? How are they getting so much access to it?
Okay.
And how is it so easy for them to get? Those are some of the common things that we might hear from parents or other adults in regards to our program.
Okay. So, by the way, what are the most common drugs that kids are using?
Okay. So right now,
well, adolescents, that is.
Yes. Right now, what we see in our program is primarily marijuana use.
Okay.
I would say probably 85% of our kids are using marijuana, male and female.
Okay.
But we are also seeing a lot of alcohol use, cocaine use, and uprise in psychedelics like LSD, acid, things like that. From what the kids say, it's fun and it's easy for them to get access to. They pass them around at school sometimes, maybe even try it at school for the first time because it's easy to hide, it's easy. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Acid. It's like you think about somebody that's like from the 60s or 70s that, with a bandana and, or Hendrix or anything like that. But I never respected acid though. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I've had probably 2 to 3 kids within the last 6 months tell me that they tried it for the first time, and that first time being at school.
Really?
Just because of how easy it is to conceal.
Wow.
And I'm not sure that, if they're searched, that people would realize that that's what it is.
So then that leads to my next question. What are some of the signs of adolescent acid drug use, but adolescent drug use?
I would say maybe becoming more withdrawn.
Okay.
I would say behavioral issues. A lot of the times maybe they turn to illegal activities,
right,
to either provide or provide for their substance use. What else? Let's see. Sleepy all the time, hungry all the time.
Yeah.
If you notice, any types of withdrawal symptoms, possibly that could be a warning sign, like sickness, unexpected sickness that doesn't quite fit, stomach ache, headache, things like that.
So, now, correct me if I'm wrong. Now, so you have the young person there using these drugs and everything like that. Is it the drugs that is just the issue, or are there other things that are going on in their life that are kind of helping or promoting this issue?
Typically, it's the drugs isn't the issue. The issue is what they're trying to mask by using the drugs.
Wow.
But it varies, a lot of kids will deny that they have any mental health types of concerns or any familial issues that cause them to start using. A lot of times they're saying that they're using because their friends are using or their family is using.
Really?
So.
Yeah, I think it's kind of hard, especially when being a kid and all of a sudden everybody's in the house smoking weed. It's like, now, what do you do?
Right.
So just when in Rome, Can we say that right now? When in Rome, do what the Romans do.
No,
we didn't say that.
But it's socially acceptable in their
Right.
family.
Well, true.
And their families aren't discouraging them from using it. Their families maybe are even like contributing to it, saying, "Hey, you want to try this?" or
Right.
something to that effect.
So then that leads me to my next question: how can families help with adolescent drug use?
I mean, I think providing the education for one. Like,
Okay.
even if they're in a situation where the family members are doing it,
Mhm.
maybe letting the kids know that just because you see us doing it, maybe doesn't mean that's something that you should try. Especially like I said, when it comes to like marijuana, that's
Right.
the most socially acceptable right now, it seems. So yeah, just kind of letting them know what it can do to them, how it can affect them in the long run, those types of things.
So it's like do as I say and not as I do.
Yeah, maybe. But then also like being supportive and not judgmental.
Okay.
I think that tends to be an issue, is that parents sometimes will be like, don't use drugs, you'll become an addict. And kids don't think like that.
Well, okay, so you're the counselor. I think it's kind of hard, especially if a parent has been using drugs when they were that age, and what's like the pot calling the kettle black. And so I think if kids had more of a rapport or more of an understanding with their parents or a connection, maybe they wouldn't make some of the decisions that they. What do you think about that?
I could definitely agree. Things like a lot of the parents are like, don't do this, but it's not why I don't do it. And it's not like, oh, let me share my experience with you and what happened when I tried it. Right. It's just don't. Right. And kids, nobody wants to be told not to do something. In our experience, a lot of the times, when you tell somebody don't do something, it makes them curious to be like, wonder why they don't want me to try that so much.
So, what are some of the resources that are in the area, the Davidson County Metro Nashville area, that can help kids with substance abuse or addiction issues?
YODA's one, Youth Overcoming Drug Abuse. Okay. As I said, we offer the IOP classes for that male and female adolescents from 13 to 18. Right. There are others like Meharry. They offer a program. Bradford offers a program as well. And I'm not sure if Cumberland Heights still has one or not for adolescents, but at one point they did. Okay. Yeah. What should parents really expect from treatment? That's the thing. It's like you drop them off, you come in at the doors, my kid needs help, he needs someone to work with him. So then you just drop them off. You drop them off, and then it's like, I guess you're waiting for you to be healed. Yeah. It's not that's the thing. Parents typically expect us to fix them. Right. And we can only fix someone as much as they're willing to be fixed, I guess you could say. So, you can expect pretty much for us to try to teach them ways to abstain, coping skills, refusal skills, things like that. Try to help them try to identify like maybe why they're using, what's triggering them to use, things like that. But to be fixed.
So what would you say are some popular coping skills and tools that adolescents really take to in, I guess, this area?
So some of the ones that I've heard some of the kids say work best for them is like distraction coping skills. When they're having the urge to use, finding a way to distract themselves, whether it's playing video games, getting on social media, calling a friend, things like that are typically what they're saying helps them. I have a few that like to exercise maybe, so they'll go for a walk or go for a run. But typically it's the distraction coping skills that are working best for them in the moment. Interesting. There's a saying that if you are able to kind of delay the craving or delay the trigger of wanting to use for 10 to 20 minutes, then it'll go away. So typically, that's one of the ones that can work.
So all you got to do is just be able to not look at the drug or not look at the substance for about 20 minutes or so, and then
I wouldn't even say not looking at it, or but it's more so distracting yourself from that urge. So kind of keeping your mind busy from the urge of wanting to use, so that way you don't actually use. You delay it. You think about This is something I need to do. Let me distract myself for a little bit, see if that helps, see if I still want to do it in 5-10 minutes.
Go argue with somebody.
Yeah.
That'll be a distraction.
I mean, that is a distraction, but that could also be a
trigger. Okay.
Go both ways. For sure.
It go both ways, just depending on the person right there.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I mean, there's another thing that kind of hit me. Somebody was talking to me about the other day. It's about 12-step groups, and that whole thing with like AA and NA and everything like that. Does that actually work for kids?
So, in my experience, I would say that it can, but it depends on if the kids are actually committed to remaining clean.
Why?
I mean, a lot of the times we see kids who are here to fulfill a legal requirement or a school requirement to get people off their backs, maybe, and they're not totally committed to abstaining forever. They're just willing to abstain long enough to complete the program or get off probation or whatever the case may be.
Granted, I mean, there's a means. I mean, I can see that, especially with probation. It's like you kind of got to walk that fine and narrow thing. Makes sense. So, if you are a parent, are you a parent?
No.
Okay. But if you are, how do you talk to your children about substance abuse, substance issues?
I mean, I would say, coming from a place of support, for one, not talking at them. Kids tend to report that their parents kind of talk to them in a way that they don't respond well to, and that they're like lecturing them or talking at them. Kind of letting them know that you're worried about them, you care about them, you don't want to see that happen to them. And these are some of my big concerns regarding the drug use or the alcohol use or whatever the case may be.
And that's true. When you were talking about that clicking back to the idea of relationships that parents have with their children. Some relationships, I guess, are very surface level, and some relationships are deeper. And so when you have a parent that can have those conversations, no pun intended, but
how you tied that in there.
Look, I'm working here. And so when you have those type of conversations where you can talk about the deep stuff and the things that are really affecting your teenager or even your transition and emerging adult, I think that's very beneficial because sometimes they're looking for those individuals who they can talk to, who have knowledge. It's nothing worse than talking to someone who doesn't know a lick about anything, especially when it comes to substance abuse. And a lot of the stuff that we got going on now, where it's the fentanyl or it's the hydrocodone, the oxycodone, oxycontin, everything is being cut to Xanax bars, and then like you said, the acid. And having someone that's not judgmental in those moments, I think is very beneficial. Why? Because they can help guide you away from the situation as opposed to being deeper inside of it.
Right, that and the non-judgmental piece just allows the kid to maybe feel more able to be open and honest about what's truly going on. If they feel like they're being judged for what they've tried or what they're thinking about trying, they're going to shut down if they feel like you're judging them.
Yeah, they'll shut down and they'll still use it.
Yeah, possibly.
They'll shut down and it's like, I'm still using anything like that. So very possible. So some parents, they'll come to me and they have this resounding idea. It's just said, why won't my kid just stop? Why won't they just stop using? I mean, they don't have to do it. And
if only it were that easy. I mean, there's so many addicts out here who've been struggling lifelong because they can't just stop. They want to stop, but it's not that easy. It's not a switch you can flip on and off. If it were, a lot of people probably wouldn't be struggling like they are.
But parents, where's the switch?
I don't know, but I can say that it takes time. It takes time, and it's going to take the kids actually wanting to stop. Maybe that includes them making some choices with who they're hanging out with, places that they're going. But the biggest piece is they have to want to stop. If they don't want to stop, guess what? They're not going to want to stop, and they have to want it. You can't want it for them. The court can't want it for them. Their school can't want it for them.
Okay.
They have to want it for themselves.
So what is a parent to do in those times when their kid just does not want to stop using drugs?
I mean, I would say the biggest part is the parent stop enabling. Enabling.
Define enabling.
Enabling is pretty much like you're aware of their substance abuse or their substance use that you know, whether you agree with it or not.
Right.
You're providing them financial assistance. You're providing them transportation. You're providing them when you know that that's going to lead them. You know, you're giving them an allowance, and you know that with that $20 you give them a week, they're going to go buy a substance. Or you're driving them to a friend's house where you know that they're going to be smoking or drinking or whatever. That's enabling behaviors.
So what you're saying is that, because what I just got from that was that, look, no more allowance until you stop smoking. You know?
I mean, I wouldn't say that. I would say, you know, just being more cautious. Don't just give money freely, you know. Be a little bit more cautious because you don't know how they're going to use it.
There you go. Really?
And if your kid is already struggling with substance abuse or substance use, you don't want to provide any extra opportunities. But you don't want to feel like the things that you're doing are contributing to their use.
But what if they say that my son is getting sick from not using and I have to help them? What would you advocate for them to do in that moment?
I mean, at that point, it's probably time for the kid to go to a detox program at a hospital and detox medically. If they're getting to the point where they're sick without it.
Right.
Yeah, that's probably going to be what could benefit them most at that moment, rather than the mom helping purchase.
What is detox?
Detox is where they will medically assist you to wean off of your substance in a healthy way. So sometimes that involves the use of other substances, other prescriptions maybe, to help you taper down so your body doesn't go into a shock for not having that substance that it's become so dependent on.
Okay.
So detox, the substances you see that necessary for are alcohol. Someone who is an alcoholic can't just stop drinking. It could cause them to possibly die, along with Xanax. Those are some of the big ones that you can't just stop using. You have to kind of wean yourself off of. And having a medical detox is one of the better options to do that safely.
Cool. I didn't ever know it could get like that involved or that particular or anything like that. Okay. That's cool though. I mean, it's good that they have. Have you seen a lot of adolescents that needed detoxing?
I would say probably in my time here, I've seen one or two that needed it, and it did not want to share that they needed it with their families, so found ways to do it on their own.
Really?
Yeah. One in particular that weaned herself off of alcohol.
Really? Wow. And that's, I guess, where it goes back to what we were saying earlier, that kids have to have those connections with their parents so they can be aided in that time. I mean, I guess that person, they had you in that moment, but imagine if they had you as well as their family member, as well as their uncle or aunt, or cousin, or anything like that.
The ideal situation would be to have anybody who's involved in their lives that they respect, that supports them, to be involved in the process. Because the more loving people, the more supportive people that someone has to rely on in a situation like that, the better the outcome.
So I got maybe one more question that I would get a lot of time is that kids, they ask about, what is the most weirdest question you heard kids ask when it comes to marijuana?
If you can get addicted, is the typical one.
If you can get addicted.
Yeah, kids typically don't believe you can get addicted.
Really? Interesting. Can you get addicted?
I believe so. I think that you can get to a point, if you are having to use it in order to sleep, eat, just to function on a day-to-day basis, while it's not like a drug like cocaine or alcohol, and it might not affect your body the same way, it can get to a point where if you don't have it, you're not able to do those things. And at that point, wouldn't you consider that an addiction?
Possibly.
I mean, you can't function without it. You wake up, you have to smoke to get your day started. You can't eat unless you smoke. You can't sleep unless you smoke. I would say that that's possibly an addiction. You know, your body, if you're addicted to it or not, your body becomes dependent on it for those normal functions.
Well, they say smoking before brushing. I get it. I definitely get it. Those type of patterns like that. Yeah, you got something going on. If you've got to go and do that to function.
Mhm.
So,
Another pretty interesting question that I get is the CBD stuff.
okay, what about that?
So recently here in Nashville or Tennessee, I guess CBD has become more popular, and they've even opened up some CBD stores in the area.
Yeah, I've seen some of those.
Kids got super excited about it. You can go buy weed legally.
Yeah.
That's not what that is. It's not the same thing. CBD is in marijuana.
Yeah.
However, CBD is not the part of the marijuana that gets you high.
What?
CBD is more the part of the marijuana that kind of calms, relaxes,
Okay.
relieves pain, possibly, that sort of thing. Whereas THC is the part that actually gives you the high,
Right.
that you chase. So,
Wow.
yeah.
So to me, it sounds like it's like they done kind of rolled up, man, something with oregano.
Very possible. I mean, it doesn't. Yeah.
Wow, it doesn't really do. Wow.
So, some of the curious ones went and because you only had to be 18
right
to enter the stores. They went and bought some CBD marijuana, and realized that all it did was make them sleepy and calm them down. It didn't give them a high like they were hoping it would give them. So that was a pretty interesting one too, to hear them talk about their experiences with that. And to see some of them get so excited about it because they're like, oh, the drug test tests for THC, not CBD. So that means I can smoke this and not get caught.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. That's not the case. It doesn't do the same thing.
It's just wasting your time.
Yeah.
It's just wasting your time.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's all we have for today. For more on this topic and topics like this, visit us at havetheconversationtn.org. That's havetheconversationtn.org. Thought I wasn't going to get through that. We will be back on March the 14th. Yes, we are going to take maybe 2 weeks, and I will be leaving the country. March the 14th with Sharon K from WFSK, Jazzy, FSK, FU alma mater. Take it easy.